What's up, gang? So the other day I made a video on Tipsy and it being the biggest song of 2024. However, a lot of comments are talking about how it wasn't the biggest song or how they had heard Espresso way more by Sabrina Carpenter. So I thought I would break that one down today, and it is actually the most streamed song and I think potentially the biggest song internationally. I haven't seen the Espresso music video, so today again we're gonna be breaking down this song, see what makes it great. Yeah, I definitely haven't seen this before. Ew. Did they do that, you think? Or is it VFX? I guess it's makeup. Wow, they really extended this filtered intro here. I know the filtered intro is in the original too, but it's been going on for a long time now. It's got kind of like a vintage James Bond aesthetic so far. If you're unfamiliar, this whole song is actually based off a Oliver loop. Oliver is a sample pack creator who has a bunch of stuff on Splice. There's been a lot of talk about this online, whether this was like moral or not, or if it's lazy or whatever. But basically, they just took a loop. They based the entire song around it. The producer of this song is called Julian Bonetta, but we'll get to all of that. Anyway. I think the whole me espresso thing is really clever. You never really heard someone say that's that me espresso, but it makes sense in the context of the song. Like, he's staying up because I'm like caffeine or whatever. Okay. It's just infectious, I think. I think the top line, even without the lyrics and all of that stuff and the attitude, it is, you know, this very, do we want to say like assertive, like feminist aesthetic, or like just kind of like, hey, I'm a bad girl or whatever. You know, that whole thing, which has its own PR thing. Like, it'll upset some people. I definitely know that, like, I'm not like super attracted to this type of lyrics personally, but I understand that, like, it's fun. It's kind of like tongue in cheek and it adds some stuff. I mean, that is clever, right? The whole yes thing. That makes you think of like old Madonna songs and stuff. It's kind of very vintage in some ways, the entire thing. Obviously, the beat and the background and the drums and everything feel like this updated disco, like kind of 80s thing. The Oliver sample packs are big on. It kind of sounds like the drums are probably from Oliver too. One of my favorite producers, Circuit, once said in an interview that he felt like using Oliver drums is like a cheat code. Like, it feels like cheating. He almost doesn't want to do it, which I think is funny. It's just an earworm. It's got that quality that something like, you know, I'm Blue has, or... There's a lot of skin in this music video. It is really just like, you know, her entire kind of like artist persona is very based, right? And it's interesting. I was just looking this up the other day because we do have a few artists now that are very heavy on this sexualization and like kind of talks about sex a lot. And that's at the same time as people are having less sex than ever, which I think is fascinating. Is it that sweet? I guess so. I'm working late 'cause I'm a singer. I like this verse. Oh, you look so cute. Wrapped around my finger. My twisted humor. It really reminds me actually of this really old music video. I'm gonna see if I can find it. Yeah, I don't know. I guess the only thing that's like, these people are using power tools and stuff, but it's got the same vibe and the same kind of color grade where the skin is really yellowy and like colorful. Anyway. She's got crazy confidence. What is this scenario? I just like everything is just so over the top gratuitous. So like it gets funny, but like it's also like not entirely a joke. You know, it's kind of like, you know, when you walk on the self-awareness, like we are selling through what we're showing, but it's also like so over the top that's supposed to be a little bit funny. You know what I mean? This music video is very it's almost hard to listen to the song. Oh, that's cool. I like that. That little pool car. So for a friend's bachelor party, we actually went out in London and we had this boat that was a hot tub and it was amazing. You had like a little fire in there. I definitely recommend it. If you're ever in London around Canary Wharf, do that. Wait, what? Why did she get arrested? Was it too sweet? Oh, yeah. It's the guy that she pushed out the boat. I get it now. Well, drove off the boat or whatever. Weird music video. There's so many reasons why people like a music video like this, but like you have to remember, we're in an era right now where people don't really watch music videos. But this one still has 284 million views, and I think that comes down to the carnal nature a little bit of the video. Again, I am a fan of this music. It's just like, I am not, and I have never been sexual or into this type of hyper-sexualized stuff. If you watch my channel for a while, you know. By the way, welcome back to another video. My name is Joe from Rumi Official. I hope you're doing good. I am breaking down more songs over on patreon.com/Rumi Official if you want to check that out. If not, that is totally okay. These are patrons rolling around here. They get credited as well. Anyway, let's continue the freaking video. Okay, so I'm interested in kind of like seeing some interviews and seeing if Sabrina said anything about the background of the song.
But I do have to question ordering it a lot now. Like I'm just like,
oh, have you had moments in that like where the barista's just like, I can't.
they're just like waiting for me to say it, and I'm like,
you must
tea.
That's very funny.
And I got this one boy, and he won't stop calling.
Based off of experience, if I'm not picking up after 3 calls, take a 5, Kit Kat break. You know what I mean? Like, that's just too much. But also, if I'm calling you, I can call as many times as I want.
I feel a little bit old sometimes when I watch stuff like this because I'm like, yeah, that's like an obvious double standard, and like that's kind of like the sassy joke, but it's like also serious. It's just like always walking this line of like, you have to treat me this way, but I can treat you however I want.
The internet noticed that you seem to be able to manifest things, by the way, on social media. I don't know if you know about this, but here's an example of something that you tweeted. People are always scared to give me caffeine. I don't know why. Those little espresso things taste cute, and I like them.
What's the date?
I mean,
March 16th, 2016.
Wow, yeah, that's way before.
So
I was 15 drinking espresso.
Wow,
Which
she's
says
very
a
young.
lot.
yeah, that does say a lot right there. Yeah.
About my parents or me, I don't know.
I think you can predict the future, so be careful now when you tweet things out. It could become real.
Wait, Sabrina Carpenter wrote Espresso in 3 minutes? No.
Wrote that song in France. In like 30 minutes it was done. Went to this little town. Literally there was less than 1,000 people in this town. It was called Cheyenne. All there was a creperie, a church, and like a really mid grocery store. I wrote half the record there. And at
Really
first I was a
mid
little
grocery store. That's such a funny thing to say. She must really care about grocery stores if she's ranking them like that. I'm just like, I'll go to the grocery store, go to Ralph's.
I wrote half the record there. And at first I was a little nervous.
That's cool. She wrote half the record in France in just a tiny town. That makes so much sense though, like to really isolate yourself. I can imagine like being in LA around all of whatever her usual people would be way too distracting creatively.
That I would go crazy, and then I did go crazy. That's where I opened up what ended up being the album.
Okay, so this is Oliver, the music producer, reacts to his sample in Espresso. That's funny.
My name's Vaughn Oliver, creator of the Power Tools packs. Some of the loops that have been used in kind of big songs would be like the Doja Cat, Dua Lipa, Burna Boy, Adele, Weeknd, Kygo,
Crazy.
SZA, Justin Timberlake.
It's practically everything because it just sounds so good, his work.
I heard the song and I was like, that really sounds familiar. And it's tough because I have so many sounds out there now.
Yeah.
But that one in particular, I was like, I think that's from my pack. And I went through and I found it and I was like, yep, that's it. Obviously, they wrote an incredible song. They did some incredible additional production and stuff like that. But the core basis of that song is from that loop. It's flattering when I hear some of my sounds on these other big records. And it's just kind of cool to be a part of the zeitgeist of pop music.
That's really cool that he feels that way too. You know, it is like he wrote the core of that that song. But then he, of course, like licensed it away. And also, like, I could use that loop. I could use that exact loop. Sabrina and her team and her label don't have ownership of that loop. Okay, so what inspired Sabrina's Espresso? So as we saw earlier, Carpenter has humorously referenced her own caffeine habits. The song was co-written with Steph Jones, Amy Allen, and producer Julian Benetta, known for their collaborative work in crafting catchy pop tracks. A lot of writers on this one, so we don't know exactly how much, she necessarily wrote in it, but that's kind of like one of those secrets. She does seem like a good writer, though. I recently made a video on Taylor Swift writing Love Story, which seems like she wrote entirely on her own. But I was like, that has always been Taylor Swift's bread and butter, to kind of like be a really strong writer and like good lyricist and stuff like that. Sabrina works more, I guess, in a modern way, writing by committee a little bit more. Espresso contributed to the pop girl summer phenomenon, where female artists dominated the music scene with themes of youthful defiance and individuality. I think about this a lot with how back in the day, a lot of female artists would be super sexualized because of maybe like pressures from labels and stuff, because it worked, because it sold, right? But recently we have more of this movement where women seem to choose it like on purpose in order to like, I am in control and I choose to do the thing that the men used to tell us to do, but now I'm doing it for myself type thing. But I do think that it does come back to capitalism a little bit, because it does work. The people who are willing to do that, or like feel that they want to express their femininity that way, will get more popular because it is something that works really well PR-wise. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Sabrina Carpenter says she wrote Espresso as a manifestation tactic when no one liked her romantically. Sabrina says that when she started writing the song, it was a manifestation tactic because no one liked me romantically at that point. No one was obsessed with me. I didn't have anyone I was even talking to. I've always been a bit delusional in that sense. I mean, that's cool. She's manifesting, right? Okay, so let's have a look at the form and the chords and a little bit like that. Compared to other songs we've looked at in this series so far, like Taylor Swift's Love Story or whatever, this is more of a modern, almost like, TikTok-y, Spotify algorithm vibes forms. We start out with an intro directly into a chorus, which feels like it's kind of the new meta, or at least has been for a little bit, similar to like Justin Bieber's Stay. Hook him immediately with the chorus. Verse 1, pre-1, chorus 2, a little break to let the chorus breathe. Into verse 2, they do switch up the chords a little bit in verse 2. And honestly, that is a big thing with working with a loop like this that they've done. They don't really have a lot of flexibility to change the chords, so everything that is green is the exact same progression. A lot of chord changes, so it looks like a lot, but it's just the same thing over and over. The gray ones are kind of like one-off chords where they just kind of like don't play a chord, so therefore it turns out a little bit different. This is the genius part that I found. Yes, they're using the guitar loop, but they're not actually using it with the chords that are kind of like embedded in the guitar loop. So if you listen to the original loop, I got it right here. Yeah. The bass. Which are not the chords in Espresso. So if I were to play bass on this based on just the loop like anyone would do, and not, the people who made Espresso, it would sound a little bit different. To be fair, I did also steal their bass rhythm there. But anyway, the actual bass that they are playing is like this. Which is actually pretty out there on top of those chords. And that's why we get kind of these, I want to call them like clusters. When they play the A in the bass, we actually get an A minor 7, 9, 11, which is kind of like a cluster. It's like pretty, quite a lot going on. But that is not really embedded in the loop, I would say. I think that's just an effect of them playing very different bass notes on top of that. And I think that's what makes this song so sticky too. It never really settles. The original loop definitely settles on that like C major. Like the C major 7. They do touch the C major, but just super briefly. So that's really what I feel makes this song have that looping feeling, which just goes over and over in your head because it never resolves. You're never like home. The drums do sound like, again, like they are from the Oliver pack as well, but I can't find an exact replica of that. So I would assume that it's just something they've layered, partly using Oliver drums. One thing that's really interesting about these drums, or like about this particular loop or whatever, it's got a very strong fundamental in the snare. You don't usually hear that. Oh, boo, boo, boo. See if we can kind of get a hold on exactly what that is. Here, you can really see it in the waveform, right? So this is an equalizer where you can kind of see the frequency spectrum of stuff. And it's very prominent compared to other drums that I've heard. And you even hear it in the total mix. Like, right. Yeah, that is on the D. So it's kind of tuned to the key. So you can almost say the snare is playing in notes as if it was an instrument. Other than that, I do feel like it's a pretty straightforward song. It's just very well done, but compared to something like Love Story that we looked at, there's not really like a lot of chord details or anything. It's just a solid music production, very loop-based. Like we're not really switching things up a lot. There are things that come in and out of the production, obviously. You do have some parts where there's no bass.
I know I'm nothing to do for you. That morning coffee brewed for you.
And obviously here there's less chords, so they're switching it up a little bit as much as you can when you're based on a loop. So
I'm working late.
yeah, no guitars, no part of the Oliver loop here.
Oh, we look so cute.
But this is the sound to me of some people having a lot of fun in the studio, and I like that. I was reading off camera an interview with Julian Bonetta just a little bit, and he was talking about how he used to live in LA and how in LA you would like just write so many sessions like a different artist every day, and then he decided to move to Nashville and just write with people he really liked and like who were his friends and stuff, and not do as much like musical speed dating. And I can see that like they just seem to have a lot of fun in the studio, and it probably gets a lot more effective and stuff too than kind of jumping in and out as much with different people. I do think the vocal hook is amazing. Like this is so catchy, right?
Now he's thinking about me every night. Oh, is it that sweet? I guess so. Say you can't sleep, baby, I know. That's that me espresso. Move it up, down, after I roll. Switch it up like Nintendo.
What do you guys think that's all about? The whole move it up, down, left, right, oh, switch it up like Nintendo. I think they're just playing Nintendo.
I can't relate to desperation.
That's interesting when she wrote the song when no one liked her.
On vacation.
Like, I can't relate to desperation or whatever.
Boy, and he won't stop calling when they act this way. I know I got him.
It's almost like she's doing role-playing, right? But the thing about role-playing is that if you're successful with role-playing, you eventually kind of often becomes that. I've seen that with YouTubers. Like, they play a role and then, like, they kind of become that, you know? Yeah, I can think of that for me too sometimes. Sometimes I turn on my old YouTube voice, you know, like in conversation. I used to get like loud. Now it makes me cringe thinking about it.
Yes, I know I'm nothing to it for you. Yes, that morning coffee brewed it for you. Yes, one touch and I'm brand new for you.
That is stupid. She does say stupid in the song. Like, it makes sense. Like, I know I'm Mountain Dew it for you. That's so, like so random too. Talking about coffee, but it's just fun. I come out on the other side of this being like, okay, shouldn't take this too serious. Sometimes I think this is a little bit more like American culture. Like someone told me that American culture is very sensual. Like it comes down more to just what feels good in the moment. It presents itself very well in like artistry and culture. And I think that's part of why we have so many great performers from America. Okay guys, click here for another breakdown and let me know in the comments what you want me to break down next. I'll see you next time. Bye!